Okay. Hi, Kimmy. Hi, everyone. This is Casey Christensen coming to you from West Kelowna, BC. I'm an independent Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I've been away for a few days, but I'm back. Happy to be back, actually. It was a very good time. We went to Gallagher Lake, first camping trip in our new rig. So we went to Gallagher Lake. It was lovely. A little chilly, but it's okay. It was good. It was really good. So we went around to a few wineries there. We visited the new wine village, which is amazing. It's in Oliver, or on the way to Oliver, about a kilometer from Gallagher Lake. And it is like a giant circle of small buildings that are all wineries. So literally you can go from winery to winery to winery to winery just around this big circle, and there's food and there's entertainment. I highly recommend it, actually. It's fairly new, but it'll be in full swing, I think, May 1st. So if you're in the Oliver area, it's definitely worth a look. Okay, so since I'm in camping mode, I thought we would play with a stamp set called Campology, which is in the new catalog. It's carried over to the new catalog. This is it here. And one of the things that drew me to this one, not only the fact that I love camping, but what drew me to this one is this clump of trees here. I love trees. I'm really attracted to trees. And this is a really realistic looking bunch of trees. So I thought we would play with a little bit of a fun fold, an easy fun fold today, and play with this Campology kit. So I'm using 3 different colors of ink. I've got Mossy Meadow, Old Olive, and Balmy Blue. I'm going to do a little bit of brush work. I've got my trusty brushes here in 2 colors, and definitely some stamping. And we're going to do a little masking as well. For those of you who haven't tried masking, masking is a really fun way to create depth with your card. And there's a new product coming out in the catalog. It's not out yet, but there's a new catalog coming out for doing masking, because masking is very popular and it's very effective. So, hi Dorothy, nice to see you. Just back from my holidays, so I'm feeling rejuvenated and off to new things. And because I've been camping, I thought Campology was in order today. So that's what we're doing. So I've got this little fun fold going on here. It's an easy peasy fun fold, but it's effective, right? It's an effective card. So rather than just your standard card, the card base here is 8.5 by 5.5, and then you're going to score it at 2 1/8, flip it over, score it at 2 1/8 again, and you get this kind of, I don't know, it probably has a fancy name. I can't think of what it is right now, but that's the fun fold that we're going to work with. And then, because this is sort of going to be hinging on a masculine card, at least for me it's a masculine card, so it's hinging on a masculine card, I got out my paper here, this Ever Eden DSP, and it has a beautiful sheet of paper in it that is ombre paper. So what I've done is I've cut the 2 pieces of the feature paper in ombre, and then I cut it down the middle so that when I lay my card out, my ombre pieces are going to meet up and match here. So I cut one piece and then cut it in half to get a nice movement of design all the way across the paper there. So we'll start with that. So again, my card is 8.5 by 5.5. And then these little pieces here, you know I talk in notches, right? I don't talk in 8s and 16ths. But these little pieces here, they are 5 1/4 long by 1 notch below 2 inches wide. 1 notch below 2 inches, which is probably a 16th, if you really need to know the math. I think it's probably a 16th. It's just a little bit. So let's stick these on first and get our cards sort of on the go. So I'll tell you what, wine, Oliver is sure the place to be if you're into wine, isn't it? I never really noticed that until we moved up to the Okanagan. It's like wine heaven. I'm specifically going to do the darker portion of the ombre at the bottom, because as you'll see as we go along with this card, we're creating a little scene, so it will go from darker to lighter in the scene as well. So there's one. Now let's just stick the other one on. Yes, there were so many wineries there. We went to a few. And we went to Jackson Triggs, and we bought barrels for our yard. We're going to do you know, like the giant wooden barrels. So we bought a couple of those. We went with their friends, Steve and Sue. So they bought a couple, and we bought a couple, and we're going to do something fun with them in our yard. Not entirely sure what yet, but something. So there we have it. There's our basic fun fold card. Okay. So now we're going to work on the feature of the card. This card is going to work like this. It's going to have a piece here, and then this piece here is going to be the scene that we're going to create with our Stampology, and then the card will open like, whoops, the card will open like this. Okay, so let's create our scene. And what we want to do here is we're going to do the masking, as I mentioned before. So I'm going to get, this is, we do have a masking product coming up in the catalog, which I'm kind of excited about. I think that's going to be a really good product. I haven't tried it yet. In the meantime, these are just Post-it notes. So you can use the Post-it notes that have the one strip across them, you know, that you just stick with one strip and peel it off. But these are ones I found, I'm not entirely sure where. They are Post-it notes, so you can look for them under Post-it notes. But these ones are sticky all the way, all over them. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to take my tent. It's the tent that we're going to do the masking with. I'm going to take my tent and my memento, and I ink that up real good. I just added a little to my memento ink pad because I thought it was looking a little sparse, so it should be good. And I'm just going to create a tent in the middle of this. Doesn't matter where it is, I'm just doing it on my Post-it note. Okay, there's my little tent. And then all we need to do with that little tent is cut it out. So I have already done that, so I don't have to bore you with it. So here's my little tent right here, and it's all cut out, ready to go, okay? Nice to pop that off. And the nice thing about those particular Post-it notes is this is sticky all over, so it's going to stick right down onto my work and not have any edges that you might end up getting a little ink underneath. So this is the piece that's going to be my scene, and I'm going to put my tent not quite in the middle, but you know, not too far up either. So there's my tent there, and I just give it a little press, and now it's down there all the way around, so I can work around it now. So the next thing I want to do here is I want to take my trees, and I think, you know what, I think I'm going to want to use the Stamparatus for my trees because they're a big stamp. I often find with big stamps it's harder to get the stamp to go all over. Sometimes it's hard to get it inked all the way around. So it is a rather large stamp. So let's just put my piece here and decide where I want my, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to line this up on the number 2 on here. I want it further out from the corner. So I'm going to line it up on the number 2 line here, which is actually upside down, which isn't the best thing. So let's put that right side up. Oh, it doesn't even matter, does it? No, it doesn't. So I'm just going to tuck it in there. I'm going to put it on the number 2 there. Oh, and you know what else I want? Because this is where you want to have your little pad of Stamparatus paper here. See? That's where you want to have that, because this stamp is definitely going to go outside of the card I'm stamping it on, and we don't want to get that ink on the Stamparatus mats. So it was really nice to get away. It was a little chilly. It was a little chilly, not going to lie. It was a little chilly. But, you know, we both have nice rigs with heaters and all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't too bad. We weren't suffering by any stretch of the imagination. It's a lovely place. It's very clean. It's very, I don't know, it's just a really lovely place. And there's a lake there. It's a small lake. Now, I think that's not going to work out because of the size of the stamp. Let's figure out where I want my stamp to be, and then I'll put my magnets down. How's that? Because I don't want my I think that should do it. I'm going to go with that. Okay, so I'm going to, now that I can move it around, I'm going to move it to any line that I know is a straight line here, so that I'm able to, well, that's not even how it's going to be anyways. Yeah, I can let that little tree be there because it's going to get masked. So I'm going to put it about there. And then I'm going to line my little square of paper up here on 2 of the black lines. So that just in case I have to stamp it twice. I'm hoping not to have to be honest. I prefer not to stamp it twice. So let's just see what we get here. And now I'm going to stamp this in Mossy Meadow. We're going to use Old Olive for the ground, but I think the trees should be in Mossy Meadow because it's quite a bit darker. And I think that's kind of what we're aiming here. So I'm just going to ink that up. Oh, I do not have a happy, well, maybe I do. I feel like my Mossy Meadow wants a little attention. My ink pad wants a little attention. Let's just see what we get here. Because, as you know, using the Stamparatus, we have the opportunity to stamp it again if we need to. Okay. So there's my stamp. See how that looks. See, it looks quite light. It does look quite light. So I am going to, you know what? I think I'm going to give my stamp pad, let's see if I can find the ink and give it a little drink. Yeah, let's do that. It needs a little help. I should have checked that before I went on, but it's okay. It's fine. So you're just going to dab it on like so. Can you see how I've got that on there? And then take your, this is why I have more than one of these tools here. I have more than one simply because I tend to use one of them for doing this messy work here. Although it's really not that messy. It comes off in the sink with just water. But it does kind of make a mess of your tool there. So let's add a little ink. Let's set that aside where I'm not going to make a mess with it. And we'll give that another try and see if we can get a little more color. And I think we will. I think we will get more color. Everything, nothing moved, so everything's exactly where it belongs. There. Much better. Okay, so you can see my tent sitting there. It's kind of off to one side there. I've got my lovely tent. Okay, so let's give this a second to dry. And I'll just put it right there for it to dry off a little bit. Yeah, and that's why I never ever, you know, when I first started buying the pads, I didn't buy the re-inkers because I guess I didn't really quite get it, to be honest. I didn't quite get the whole concept. But I always use them now. So anytime I order ink, or anytime I order pads, I order ink. And I'm surprised how much ink I've used. I live in a fairly dry climate in the summertime, so it does get very warm here, and I think there is a tendency for things to dry out just a little bit. So I probably use quite a bit of the re-inkers. So there I have my trees, and you can see because my tent is a mask now, I'm going to be able to stamp down my tent without it having an effect on my trees, without having trees in or around or behind it. So there we go. I suppose I could have put my trees a little bit further over, but that's okay too. You know, we don't have to be too fussy. We're also trimming it down a little bit. So now I can take my mask off. Actually, I'm going to leave my mask on while I do my backgrounds. That's what I'm going to do. Okay, so let's have a little balmy blue. And we're going to do a little bit of brushing some color onto this. And the reason that I stamp my trees before doing this is because I do want a little of my blue color to go in behind these trees, because of course you'd be able to see through these trees into the sky. You know what? I'm having a thought here. Just bear with me. I'm having a little thought that maybe I want more trees than that. The campground we were just at was very, very treed, and I love that about it. So maybe I want a little more tree than that. Let's clean off this stamp pad here. There it is. Let's clean that off a little bit, and let's see if I can place myself a few more trees. We were in with lots and lots of tall trees, and at the bottom of a sizable cliff, and every once in a while, like a rock face, almost like, you know, in Squamish, that rock face that everybody climbs. It was almost like that, and every once in a while you could hear rocks falling down the rock face. It was pretty neat, actually. It was a pretty cool place. We would go there again, no question. It's a very nice place to be. So let's try this again, and let's, how does one lose a stamparatus while sitting at their desk not moving? Exactly. How does that happen? Oh, there it is. It had to be here somewhere. Okay, here it is. So let's add some more trees. What the heck, eh? They're different trees than this one because we're going to be using the other side of the stamp. So for this one, we can tuck it right into the corner. But I think I want more trees. I think I want to do like this. Yeah, I do. I think I want to do like that, I think. Yeah, let's give it more trees. What the heck? We're camping, right? Lots of trees. It's important when you're camping to have lots of trees. When you're inking up on your stamparatus, it's always a good idea to stick a stamp pad under there so that it's a nice even surface to ink on. There we go. Just pop that out of there. Make sure this is all nicely lined up in here. Yeah. And there we go. And you see, because we've masked, we can pretty much go anywhere. I can't find that thing. Here it is. We can pretty much go anywhere with our trees and stuff because it's always going to leave us that hollow for the tent. There you go. No, I'm going to do it again. Look, it's pretty light. The beauty of the stamparatus, right? I can stamp that as many times as I want, and it's always going to be exactly, oh, that wasn't very clever. It's always going to be exactly where it belongs. Do you see what I did there? Clever girl. Clever girl. I think I've got ink on this now, but that's okay. That's okay. Doesn't really matter in the grand scheme of things. Oh yes, look at that. Look at that tent in the middle of the trees. I love that. Okay, so let's put this guy aside, out of harm's way, since I'm not going to clean it right at the moment. And then, now, we can get our colors out. I'm going to use the balmy blue for my sky. And it's daytime camping here, so I'm only going to use the balmy blue. I don't need to give it any kind of an evening situation going on. I'm just going to use the balmy blue. I'm going to use it very, very lightly. Just remember to walk onto it rather gingerly. And you see, my ink is coming off. Yeah, that wasn't very smart of me. It wasn't dry enough. But I'm okay with it. I'm going to leave it. I'm going to let it dry a little bit more because that's blue and it's come off green. But I can always add the blue to it. But let me do my old olive down below. The trees weren't dry enough, so my green ink, although it hasn't damaged anything really, the green ink has gone into my sky, which I hadn't counted on. So let's just do our ground. Now the ground, I'm thinking I'm going to want to have a little bit of this old olive, but I think I'm also going to want it Yeah, I think Old Olive is nice to start with, but I think I'm also going to want maybe some soft suede or Sahara sand, which is lighter. Let's do Sahara sand. So we'll get ourselves another brush. Here's a sandy one. And give that ground a little more brown to it than yeah, I like that. Just a little bit more brown. And then let's see if we can recover this blue here. I really want this to be a lot bluer than it's looking right at the moment. Okay, that's looking bluer. So it's just going to be a greeny blue sky, I guess. No more blue should come off because the blue portion is dry now. We need more blue. Let's see, what else can I do here to maybe give it, I'm debating whether that new blue we have would be too much. There we go. Now we're getting kind of blue. Okay, I'm good with that. But I still want a little bit more blue in the ground. Why am I funny? Because I'm making a mess? No, I'm just going to have a little bit more brown in here on the floor, on the ground. There we go. Actually looks like a bit of a stormy sky now, doesn't it? It's a little greeny bluey. Okay, so now we can peel off my tent. And this is where it's tricky, although I'm going to do it anyways because I love it. I love the idea of it. It gets a little tricky. The clear stamps, sorry, that word's escaped me. The clear stamps are a little bit easier to do with this because you can see exactly where you're stamping. Whereas this one, I may go in around it and sort of, because you can't see exactly where you're laying it down. You can't see through the stamp, whereas you can with the photopolymer. You can see through the stamp with that stuff. So this one, you're kind of guessing it exactly where you want to lay this stamp down. But I'm going to lay it down here and hope for the best. Let's just hope for the best. Right about there. Sorry about my hair. Really have to be right over top of this one to get it right. Okay. Now I'm okay with that because I'm going to be coloring around it, right? So let's get some... Actually, I'm going to use my teeniest of brushes. I have this really teeny brush here that I can use with my Sahara sand and get a little color going on up from the sand that I already have there. Okay, just a tiny brush. Draw that color up a little bit. And now my tent. My tent, I I should do with a little like this, or my tent I'm going to do in these colors. So let's just do the shadowing first and see what we get for the shadowing. And just follow the shadowing that Stampin' Up! Has given you. Just accentuate on it a little bit. You've got different creases in the tent here and different bits of light and dark shadowing for portions of the tent. Now I want to see what this looks like before I put it down, because I'm not sure that I'm, yeah, okay, so what I'm aiming for here, what I was aiming for, and I'm going to have to go over it. Do you remember the old-fashioned tents? I don't know about you, but we had a great big, I don't know how many member tent, a lot of member tent that we had, and it was a very goldish color. And this is not really the color I want, but it's the color I'm going to start with, because I do want to get that more, do a little bit more shadowing on it. I want it to show up. And then I'm going to take my, once I've done that, because it won't affect on the color, I'm going to take my pen that I did the background with, this one here, the brush that I did the background with. I'm going to try and see if I can just unwhiten some of that, which I can, okay? Yeah, I've just taken away that stark white that was going around there, so I'm not that overly fond of it. So I'm going to go over with this again, okay? Sometimes it takes several layers of color to get what you're looking for. So I want to go over this again because I'm not entirely sold on the way it's looking at the moment. And then if I do again with the yellow color, then I'm able to draw out some of that brown color and give it more of a the color that I'm looking for. I think that's rather tintish color looking. And then I think I'm going to take my Mossy Meadow, if I can find it. No, that's not it. I'm going to take my light Mossy Meadow and just give myself a little bit of extra color down around here near the opening. I can blend with any colors I want to. You absolutely can. I mean, they're similar. I don't think I would blend with like light blue and purple, but they are of a similar nature, these ones. So, and I'm just going to take my Mossy Meadow and give this immediate grass in front of my tent a little bit more color. Yeah, I kind of like that. It kind of gives it a bit of a, like there's a lamp inside the tent kind of a feeling, you know. So what I want to do now is, I think I talked to you before about making something the shape that you want it when you don't have the shape to do it with. Like I really want to, like I have this one to cut it down, but as you can see, I'm cutting off more of the design than I would like to cut off, okay? So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use it twice, and I'll show you what I do here to get the size that I want, rather than the size than the die dictates, because I want this to be a nice fit on top of this card here. So let's get out our little cutter guide. Well, everything else falls to the floor. Let's get out the mini. Let's get out our mini, and I believe this one fits in the mini. Yes, it does. Okay, so we're going to start. I'm going to get the flattest of my two plates out here, and I'm going to start by putting this down. Now I'm gonna overuse the washi tape at the moment. I just want everything to be just perfect. So I'm gonna use a little piece of washi tape here to stick this down first. And then what I want to do, no, it needs to be almost right on the edge because I'm using the small one. I'm kind of working hard at this to use the small embossing machine, but I could have done it on the bigger one and worked a little less hard. But I'm going to start off with the upper right hand corner, and I'm putting this frame right on top of the frame of the piece of cardstock. Okay, it's right on top of there. Exactly. I got there, and I'll put a little piece down here as well. All right. So that will give us two sides of our frame cut that we want. Please don't move. 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 Make me happy. And it moved. Yeah, it's because it's too tight a fit. I'm sorry, I can't use the mini. It's too tight a fit in there. So it's going to move. So we'll have to use the big one.
I don't know what you mean. I'm sorry. I can't use the mini. It's too tight to fit in there, so it's going to move. So we'll have to use the big one.
Okay, so Siri is listening to me apparently. And answering my questions. Come on, Siri. Who asked you? All right, so let's do this instead. It's easier. I mean, I like using the little one, but I'm not getting a straight cut on here, so I'm going to have to use this one. So I'll do this again. All right, so let's just pop that on there. I want to get a nice clean cut on here, so it means I need some room around it, which the mini wasn't giving me. All right, let's try that. I'll just run it through there. There we are. That looks great. Now, let's hang on to my washi tape there. And I can turn it around, line it up for the other side. Let's give myself some room there. Just line that up on the other side. I guess my my stitch rectangle is feeling a little bit warped, and so it's popping up on me. So let's just see. All right. There we go. That looks really pretty, actually. Okay. Very nice. Let's see if we can find something in my stash of things. I feel like I want a little something in the ground area, some kind of I don't know, some kind of detail or something. Let's see if there's anything I can use here in any of my sets. There might be, sometimes I can find things. I just want a little bit of, what's this? Oh, confetti won't work. No, confetti would be a bad idea. But what else have we got? No, I don't know if I have anything. Well, let's try this. This is from Hello Beautiful. Also a current stamp set. Let's just try these little lines here. I see some little lines here that I think might look nice. Just a little bit of detail on our dirt. Because, you know, everyone needs detail on their dirt. Yes, the magnetic plate will work for that beautifully. It will. So let's give that nothing too crazy, just a light color, so maybe Sahara sand. And I just want a little detail in my dirt. That's all I want. Yeah. I'll show you up close in a minute. Yeah, that looks nice. Can you see that? Just a little something something so it's not quite as plain looking, you see? It's important to know what all your stamp sets have, you know, because you never know when something from another set is going to be just exactly what you need to get something from. Like tomorrow, I'm going to work, I hope you can join me tomorrow, because tomorrow I'm going to work with this really interesting die set. It's very, very interesting. And I'll give you a sneak preview. One of the things that I like so much about it is, this is the set. It's called Give It a Whirl. And that's all I'm going to tell you about that. It's really, really cool and it's really fun. So we're going to play with this tomorrow. But why I do this, when I get a die set, this is a die set called Give It a Whirl. When I get a die set, I like to cut everything that the die set has in it. Like cut every single, like see this one has all these ones, I haven't done it yet. That way I can look back on it and go, wait a minute, I didn't know I had those clouds. Or I didn't know I had those stars or hearts or these nice labels. This is a really nice label right here too. All these different things that they're in the set that you might not think about when you're working on a different set where you might need some clouds or you might need some stars. So it's a really good idea to make these. And I'm going to talk about this tomorrow, and we're going to play with this Give It a Whirl set because it's really interesting. It's something completely different and it's really interesting. So good idea to know what's in your sets because, you know, something like this, I might not use it in particularly with this set, but I love it where I'm using it right now in my camping set. So you never know. You never know what you're going to find. Okay, so this guy's pretty much as I want it to be so far. So now we're just going to go and stick him on to our piece here. And I'm going to stick him right on. I'm not going to dimensionalize him because we're getting a little bit more feature on him in a little bit. So it looks as though my cut at the top of this wasn't exactly perfect, but I'm fine with that. I'm not that fussy with myself. But you kind of get the drift that it's kind of a guy kind of card. And I'm actually going to trim that down a bit. I think there's too much showing at the top and the bottom and the sides. I'm just going to trim it down the tiniest little bit. I don't really want that much showing. And I'm just going to, you know, guesswork at that. I just didn't want that much showing. And it's not really integral to the card how much is there. It's just the way the whole front of the card works. So, okay. So now we're going to make a feature to go in here. I've just got a little scrap of paper here, nothing much. And I'm going to use the lantern die. I don't know. Do I want to use the lantern die? It feels like it might be too big now. Yeah, we're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. It's going to be too big. I had an idea for that, but it's not really going to work because it's going to be a little bit too big. But we can do it inside. So, because inside this card, of course, we're going to need a feature piece to do some stamping on and have a nice inside. I like my cards to have a nice inside area. So let's just see here. I'm just going to punch that with my fingernail to know where I want to cut it down to. Right about there. And then we can use any number of these stamps that come with to do a nice little feature on the inside of the card. You've got the lantern, binoculars. You could do more trees if you wanted to. You've got coffee in an old camp style coffee pot, and you've got the lantern. I like the lantern a lot, so I might just use the lantern in here. I think the lantern looks really cool. So I'm just going to do that. Get my memento. And I don't even know if I'm going to have a sentiment on the outside of this card or not. A little undecided. A little undecided whether I really want that to be. No, I don't like that. That doesn't look good. I'm not doing that. I think a different one would be better. I don't like that either. Getting fussy today. Let's see how that looks. Nope. Sorry, I seem to be having a fussy day. Here we are. This will be better. So I think 4. Yeah, that'll look good. 4 by 5, which is going to, I'll just mark this with a pencil. 4 by 5 is going to be the right size for inside. Keep it consistent. And let's find. My list is so long of the things I want to order for the next thing. It's like, oh my gosh, what are you thinking? Okay, I'm going to do the coffee pot, I think. I think I like the coffee pot. It kind of has a nice feel to it. And who doesn't eat a nice cup of coffee when they're camping, right? I know I do. There we go. And you know what? Let's see. Well, no, I guess I won't. I was going to do the coffee pot in a color, but because it's inside the card, I probably should just stick to the memento. See how it looks anyways. See, that's cute. That's cute. Just a nice little coffee pot. Camp coffee. And then that can go on the inside. Oh, what I did. You see that? Okay. I'm just trying to see if I want anything. I'm going to leave the inside for the moment because I'm not having any success with it. And that's my rule of thumb. If I try something twice and it doesn't work out, I set it aside and I'll get back to it. The first time it wasn't the right ink, and the second time the ink wasn't dry enough. So I'm going to do some linen around here because you know I love my linen, especially with the earthy type cards. So I'm going to wrap that around, I think, 3 times. Give it a little chop there. A little chop. And tie it in a tiny bow. I think I want my bow to be a little smaller than that. I'll just pull it in. Keep tightening it up as you go. Pull it in and tighten it up. It is quite cute. So then, oh, I think it needs more than that off. So then, once you're ready, we're going to dimensionalize this, and obviously we can only dimensionalize it on one side, right? Because we have to be able to open our card. So I'm going to take kind of a visual note that I want dimensionals on this side and probably 6 of them. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, so that it's good and stuck on there, but that there's nothing on this side whatsoever, okay? So let's get some dimensionals. I had them in my hand a minute ago. There they are. And keep in mind which side, because I will forget just as quickly as I turn it over. I do love my linen. I think it's really pretty. Although I'm very excited for the new things. Lots of new embellishments coming out, and I've got pretty much every single one of them is on my order form because I do love embellishments. So you've got your dimensionals, excuse me, just down the one side, and a good amount of dimensionals so that it will stick on there nicely. So give yourself a little idea of where that's going to be. There we are. I apologize. I don't have my puffer here right now. I should have, but I don't. I got put on a puffer last week, which is why I missed my live, because I ended up in urgent care, which was not a fun way to spend the day. But hey, there we go. See that? Isn't that nice? So let's just see what we want to do, if anything, as a sentiment. It does have some nice sentiments in here. I will, since we have time, think of, let's see. I think I just want something small. I think maybe I just want, explore at the bottom. But I'm going to stamp it in my Mossy Meadow, or Enjoy Today. Actually, I like Enjoy Today. I like that a lot. Let's see how that will fit on my card. Yes, I like Enjoy Today. I'm going to stamp this on white cardstock with my little one that isn't here right now. I might have to stamp her out of that since I can't find my small stamping block. Doesn't really matter where it goes, and I know it's going to stamp nicely, but I just can't find my little block at the moment. It's kind of buried under here, so I'm just gonna do this. It'll work. Do that in Mossy Meadow because I want it to be a fairly dark sort of a. Or I could also do it in, well, I'm going to do Mossy Meadow. I also very much like doing it in Evening Evergreen. I like stamping my sentiments in Evening Evergreen. It's just such a pleasing kind of color. I'm going to use the darker one. It's more reliable to get a nice dark ink out of it. I really wish I could find my little thing, but let me see. Maybe I can do it on this one instead. Yeah, I'll do it on this one. I like the one that's set for narrow sayings because then it's less liable to, you know, if you use the one that's meant for sign or sentiments this size, there's less movement in the stamp when you go ahead to stamp it. So whenever possible, use the smaller one. But I'm going to use this one for right now because it's what I have. Let's just stamp that up here. Very nice. Enjoy today. Very simple. Now I have, let's look at this because we're going to look at it tomorrow. So let's look at this. Just give it a whirl that I was telling you about. It occurs to me that it has the perfect die. Oh no, it's a little too big. However, that doesn't stop me. So let's just do this. We'll use the little guy. Close that up. We'll bring out this little guy and do our enjoy today. And like I did before, I'm going to cut out a portion of it and then I'm going to flip it and cut out the other side so it'll be nice and matching. And be the size I want it to be. I'll show you in a sec what I've done. So there, I've got my stamp and my die on top of my stamp set, and I've evened it out on this end to where I want it to be. So I'm going to run that through. Oh, I've got it backwards. That's not helpful at all. Just going to run that through. And then when I take it out, I'll just take this with the tape that's already on it. What, Kim? Oh, yeah. Just a little rattle. Just a little rattle in the lungs. Nothing to get excited about. Not COVID. There, see, now I'm able to do the same thing as I did before. I'm just moving the die over so I can get that same die shape, but it's shorter, which is more suitable for my space I'm working with in this card. There we go. Let's have a look at that. And there we have it. See? So it's just use the die and then move it over to where you want it to be. And I think that's just perfect. I like that quite a lot. So let's have some tiny dimensionals. And put a few dimensionals on there. Keep your dimensionals to one end. Keep them to the end where the enjoy is. I think I'm just going to put 2 dimensionals and keep them over to that end because I want the sentiment to stick off a little bit. We don't want a dimensional there, or it's going to hold our card closed when we don't want it closed. So let's see how that looks. I need to open it up like this so that it's not popping up on me to try and put this on. There we are. That's quite pretty, isn't it? Let me just flatten my edges so that the card will hold closed. Or maybe not, since I can't find my bone folder at the moment. Okay, so now it needs something. Let's see what it needs. I think because it's a masculine card, I'm thinking maybe some of these oh, I lost you, Kim. What did you say? I do that a lot because the dies are a certain set, especially the rectangles and the squares. They're all of a certain size, right? And some, for the most part, that certain size works out fine. But every once in a while, I need something that's just not quite that size, but I still want it to be a square, or I still want it to be a rectangle. So it's nice to be able to do that. So let's find my. I'm just going to use these Rustic metallic adhesive back dots because I think they're kind of cool. I don't know that I want the big ones at all. I think I'm going to use the small ones. And I think just there and there maybe. Yeah, I'm just going to use them on the brown. I don't think I need them anywhere further up. And let's just see if one will sit there on that. Yeah. There you go. So that's it. And it's just a nice sort of, I will do something in the middle, but it's just a nice sort of somewhat masculine card, nothing too fancy. But it is that time of year where everyone's doing their camping and stuff. So if I haven't told you before, I'm now also on YouTube. I have a YouTube page, Stampin' with Casey. Unfortunately, at the moment, there are 2 of them up there. They're both me. One of them only has 2 subscribers, and one of them has 10, I think. So if you'd like to subscribe to my YouTube page, you want to subscribe to the one that has 10, because that one has the most videos. I'm working on how to get rid of the other one, but you know, it's all a learning curve for me, so it's baby steps, and I try not to let myself get too stressed out over it, and but I will eventually get rid of that other one. But all right, so I hope you enjoyed that. I will be back tomorrow. I'm going to do the Give It a Whirl die set, because I just think it's phenomenal what it does. It's just a fun die set to use with pretty much any stamp set you have. You can use with the Give It a Whirl die set. And it did carry on to the next catalog too. So that's always exciting. So, all right. So thank you for joining me today. I will see you again tomorrow. And I hope you enjoyed my card today. Bye for now.